welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be talking you through what my daily/weekly routine during weekdays in sixth form looked like. So a couple of quick disclaimers. Firstly, I have my timetable that I used throughout sixth form in front of me, so if I keep looking down or in weird directions, that is why. It's just on my iPad on Excel. And secondly, just because this is what I did, it doesn't mean that this is necessarily the right thing for everyone. Everyone works in different ways, has different optimum periods for studying and not studying. This is just what worked for me. So although I'm sharing exactly what I did, don't think that this is the best way. And so each day I used to get up at about 5:15, which I know is early, but I discovered that the mornings were just when I work the best. So I liked to get up so I had plenty of time before school. So I'd get up at 5:15 and until 6 o'clock I would be getting ready, so you know, getting dressed, drinking coffee. That one was the most important, I'd say. So yeah, I had 45 minutes to just sort all of that out. And then from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock I would then do an hour of studying, which sounds mental, but this was the most productive hour that I ever had during a day. And as I mentioned in my previous video, I like to allocate time to subjects just so I know exactly how much time I'm spending on each subject, so one doesn't overtake the rest. So as you might be able to see, you can't really, but just trust me, so along the side is the time slot, so this is the first one, and then I just have chemistry, physics or maths in each of those. So I decided to put physics and maths in the morning more than chemistry because I found chemistry easier and physics and maths harder. These were the best ones to put at the time where I was the most productive and the most focused, because I found that these required my focus a bit more than chemistry did. So at 7 o'clock I would then just pack up all of my stuff and take the train to school, where I would then get there about 45 minutes to an hour early before like registration and school starts. So I'd then spend about half an hour revising or doing my homework before school, and the rest of the time just, you know, chatting to my friends, having a bit of chill time. And I didn't allocate which subject I was going to do in this time. I used it as buffer time so that as much as possible I could stick to the subjects in the time that I'd allocated to them, and I didn't have to mess with it for deadlines. So if I didn't have anything to do in these times, then I'd either do a bit of extra revision if there was a topic that I found particularly difficult, or I would just have a bit of extra free time, and I varied which of those I did quite a lot. So the next thing from about 8:40 till 3:45 was my lessons and my frees. So as I said in my previous video, I allocated each of my frees to a subject so my time was the most balanced possible. So the way I did this, I'm just going to show you again my schedule, is each of the block colours is a lesson. So I had chemistry as purple, physics as blue, and maths as green, and the different shades just represent different teachers. So that was just a visual aid for me, so if I knew if I had a piece of work due for the next lesson with that teacher, I could quickly look and see exactly when that was. And that just helped me particularly at the beginning of the year when I didn't know my timetable that well, and then I've just got the words of the subject written in. So yeah, as you can see, I was free periods 3 and 4 on a Monday, and I allocated those to maths. So when I was making this as well, I looked at what subjects I had when, so I could make it that I had to adjust it on a weekly basis as little as possible. But you also need to make sure you try and keep yourself a bit sane. Don't do too much of one subject in a day. This year my timetable on a Tuesday, we had 8 periods in a day, and I had 6 periods of maths, so I knew not to allocate all of my extra time to maths that day. I mean, I didn't actually have any frees, but I wouldn't try and do maths at lunch as well, because that was a lot of maths. So on the topic of lunch breaks, I used to spend at least half of it as time off. So we had an hour off, so at half of that I'd be eating, chatting, you know, that sort of thing, and the other half again I would use as buffer time. So if I ever needed to, I'd go and get some work done revising for any tests, or just getting a bit ahead with homework to take the pressure off a bit later. So my school day then finished at 3:45, and obviously I then needed to get home. So that took me till about 4:30 or 4:40. I used to take the train, so it varied a bit. And so then when I got home, this was 3 days a week, I'll get to the other 2 in a minute. I then gave myself 20 minutes where I would just go on my phone, scroll through Instagram, do all of that stuff that can easily drain your time away. So I found setting specific times for that really helped it not take over my life. But I also used to plan exactly what I wanted to get done in my study sessions in the evening. So on these 3 days a week, I used to do 3 hours of studying, and again, like with my frees, I used to allocate what subject I was going to do. So it averaged out at about an hour of each subject in each of these evenings. But like I said, I had 6 periods of maths on a Tuesday, so I ended up with a lot of maths homework on a Tuesday. So I gave myself 2 hours of maths, and then I had 2 hours of physics another day. So it all balanced out in the end. But before my 2 hours of maths, I gave myself an hour of chemistry, because as I said, 6 periods of maths in a day is a lot, and I needed some time not thinking about numbers. So after my 3 hours of studying in the evening, obviously I had dinner in that time as well. There is a half an hour break in there, and 5 minutes between most of the sessions, and half an hour between 2 of them, so I could eat some food. The time I actually ate varied a lot, so I just used to take it out. So it was a rough schedule rather than a specific one that I followed absolutely every day. But then I used to finish about 8:30. Again, this is rough. Occasionally I overran. It's not the end of the world. Where I then gave myself half an hour where I would tidy up my stuff, because I'm the sort of person that when I'm working, my desk looks like an actual tip. I just end up with paper everywhere, and I just found it better to sort it out at the time rather than then trying to start another study session and realising I don't actually have space to do anything. So yeah, I used to allocate half an hour just to tidy and plan after my evening of studying. So I then gave myself about an hour just to watch YouTube, do whatever I fancy really. I tried to stay off social media then, because I found that that kept me awake more. Not really sure why, but again, it worked for me. So then I would try to go to bed at about 10 o'clock. Again, this didn't happen every day, but you know, you can try. So as I said, my evenings were only like that 3 days a week. So the other 2 days I had a job. So I worked 5 till 9, around twice a week. And I really enjoyed my job, but obviously it meant that I couldn't be studying during the time that I was working there. So on those days, I would tended to use my lunch break a bit more to get my work done, just because I worked Wednesdays and Thursdays, so it was 2 days running. I found that Friday deadlines tended to creep up on me a little bit. So just getting ahead on those days was particularly helpful, but I decided I didn't want to do any work in those evenings. So instead I got back about 20 past, 9:30. Again, it varied, shifts overrun, it happens. And then I would have my half an hour of just tidying anything possibly from the morning and planning what I still need to get done, possibly for the next morning again if I have any deadlines coming up, or if I had any next day homework and I haven't done it in the evening, just making a note of that so that I don't stress myself out over it. And then I still try to go to bed at around 10 o'clock. So as I imagine you've probably got from this video, my weeks were very centred around school and studying, and then also my job. That is just how I liked to have my weeks, and then my weekends were a little bit freer. So obviously I did do some studying, but it was much less structured, and I did what I needed to and had most of my time off on the weekends. So don't think I did this 7 days a week. I just preferred to have it all blocked out. I found it easier to be productive for whole days rather than cutting them up a bit more, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So that concludes what my typical weekday week looked like throughout sixth form. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did enjoy it, then please leave a like, subscribe for more study related content. Bye!